What's happening? It's me, Witchy, and I'm here to do another tarot deck review. And I am going to review the Dark Carnival Tarot, which makes sense because I use it all the time. I've been using it every day for about 2 years now. You can see my deck is pretty well used. When you get this deck, you get a pouch with it, and she will paint it for you. She did a personal pouch for me. It's really worn out. As you can see, like I said, I've had this deck a couple of years. I'm just now doing a review for it. But I love this deck, obviously. Like I said, I use it every day, pretty much every day. There might have been a couple of days I hadn't used it. I might have used another deck, but I pretty much work with this every day. It's a great deck. I love her style of art. I've seen a few other tarot readers review this deck, and they review it saying it's very Halloween-y, very dark, and there's other dark Halloween-y type decks. I think for you to really get a true appreciation of this deck, you need to familiarize yourself with the music it is based off of. It'll make a lot more sense, I think, too, to those who haven't heard of the music. They've just seen the tarot cards. And not that you can't use them without listening to the music. You can definitely still use them. They're tarot cards, and they're very well modeled after traditional imagery and interpretations of the cards. But every tarot designer has their own twists on the cards that they put in there, whether they want to or not. This is definitely a favorite deck of mine. I already did a review of her Second Bridges, which is actually her second deck. I like her style of art because it's kind of like, almost like graffiti, kind of, It just gives me a real, kind of, thuggish kind of feel, The style that it is in is kind of more on the cartoony side than a realistic side, which I love. I could take a picture, but I can't, create this art, anybody's art, without them. So this is a great deck. I'm going to go ahead and lay it out like I did the other deck. I'm going to do that for every single review. I'm going to lay them out and show them to you and bring out some major points. I could probably talk about this deck for hours and hours and hours. So without further ado, let's get down to the spread. Ha ha ha! Just a trick. Before we get to the actual spread out of the cards and all that fun stuff, I'd like to show you that when you get this deck, you also get a pretty thorough little booklet. It's pretty neat. It has a little story that ties the whole major arcana together, and you know how books are. You use them relentlessly when you first get a deck, and then you kind of learn a deck, and you gotta forget about the book. Book? What book? But then I find a few months from now that I'll be like, you know what? I just need more insight on this card, and I'll go back and reread it. And what I do, especially when the author is going to give me a great little pamphlet like this to go through, I go through each card one by one as they are in the book, look at them, read the blurb, and kind of just make my own conclusions and look at the symbols on it and kind of do my own kind of review of it, I guess. And after I do all that, after I go through the whole deck, read all the information on it, get my own little impressions on each card, then I'll finally do a tarot reading with him. I'm not one to get a tarot. I don't care how well I know the Rider Waite. I don't care how well I know the traditional meanings. There's always more you can learn. There's so many little symbols within so many different cards that you're always learning. So don't ever afraid to go back to the book. But this does have a great book that comes with it. I figured you'd show it. Mine's all colorful. I don't know if she does all of them like this or what, but she wrote me a little message on the inside, which I thought was a great little personal touch. I think she likes to put little personal touches, which is great. She's more of a smaller time tarot author, I guess you would say. Not like some people who have like a million decks that they've come out with. I really like the smaller time people because that's where most of the great decks come from, is these smaller names. They're not huge names in the tarot industry, I guess, because everything's an industry nowadays. Which I really love. So their art's a little bit pure, you know what I'm saying? They're not just spitting out tarot deck after tarot deck. They're going through life journeys coming up with these decks, and she is one example of that. And a great example because it's through Juggaloism, which is something it's really advanced my life, let's say. So, whoop whoop family, let's actually get to that spread. Alright, here it is, all 78 cards of the Dark Carnival deck. I do love this tarot deck. And like I've said before, the Sacred Bridges, you can really get a feel for a deck by looking at the major arcana. The cool thing about this deck is it has major Juggalo characters in it that if you're a Juggalo like I am, you will immediately identify and understand. For instance, back here, the Juggler, which is often the Juggler card and the Magician card. This is Violent J, if you don't know. If you're not a Juggalo, that's Violent J. And there he is, bringing about, manifesting into this world, the 6 Jokers cards. And we do have the 6 cards in here. We have the Emperor, who is Carnival Carnage. We have the Ringmaster, who is the Hierophant. We have, who else? Here we have the Riddle Box, who is Judgment. Bang Pow Boom, who is the Sun. And you see Violent J and his son there on stage. If you're Juggalo, you know who that is. We'll go down and down, and then we have Mikey Clark. He's another major Juggalo character. He is Temperance. I think it's great. It's Mikey Clark, and he is depicted on the card that is the Archangel Angel Michael. Coincidence? I don't know. I wrote a whole little thing on it. If you go to my website, look under Everything Tarot. I explain a little bit more about this card and compare it to the Rider White Temperance card. Then you have the Wraith as Death. I think it's very fitting. And the Jackal Brothers as the Pendulum, which is Justice. It's the Justice card. You see the pendulum there as the balancing scale symbolism there. You can get it? Yeah. Okay, now you see it's a Justice card. This card is based off of, as far as I know, co-creator of this deck. It looks very much like her. Up here in the minor arcana, to make it more Juggalified, we got ducats instead of pinnacles, because you gotta get your ducats, right? And then we have axes instead of swords. That should be an obvious one. Still the element of air there. And then we have gats instead of wands, because the gats are fire and wands are fire. And that's a very cool suit there. Come back down here, and instead of cups we have Fagos. That should be an obvious choice. Here's the classic Two of Cups imagery, the couple. You see she goes very well. A lot of these cards are based off Rider White. You can tell the influence there of her trying to stay, you know, with traditional meaning, but making it a Juggalo twist, which is the whole point of my Dark Carnival Witchery. I love this deck so much, I actually have tattoos for it. You can see here I have the ducat, the axe, the gat, and the Fago. And then these stars right here are actually color-coded according to the suit of the Sacred Bridges. So like in the Sacred Bridges, the wheels suit is green, so I have a green star with the ducat and so forth and so on. I color-coded them that way because I love both these decks. And down here you can see for the court cards, she has a Joker, a Warrior, and Queen and King. You know, the Joker and Warrior to make it more Juggalo than Page and Knight, of course. And you can see them as a progression, and you end up, all of these kings are prominent figures in the Juggalo world. The King of Fagos is, of course, Shaggy Two Dope. The King of Gats is Blaze, You Dead Homie. Twisted comes together as the King of Axes. They are Siamese twins, aren't they? And then we have, of course, Violent J again, but him as, the name escapes me, off of Big Money Hustlers. Big Baby Chips, that's it, Big Baby Chips. And you got Sugar Slam here for the Queen. We have a random Juggalette right there for that Queen. This is based off of somebody in the Juggalo community that wasn't there very long. She was a female rapper that was going to be on Psychopathic Records, but she left before her album was even released, I think. I don't know. I don't really know too much about her, but yeah, she is another person. She's from Big Money Hustlers. she is Shaggy's girl in that movie. And she's just a big, you know, stripper. But she's all about love. And then you got Boondocks here for the Warrior of Fagos. And you got Jump Steady for the Warrior of Gats. ABK for the Warrior of Axes. And then here we have your favorite wrestler here, winning the title. And then the Jokers are just juggalos, kind of mimicking these other prominent figures here in the higher court cards. And you have a lot of juggalos here in the minor arcana. As you can see, like I said before, it seems like the minor arcana kind of tell a story. Each suit has its own little story of challenges and rewards. That is life. I really like this deck, and like many people say, it is kind of a darker deck, but it's because it's a Juggalo deck, and we're dark, man. That's how we live, breathe, and enlighten ourselves. If you're not a Juggalo looking at this deck, still look into it. Just because you're not a Juggalo doesn't mean you won't identify with it, and hell, you might decide you want to be a Juggalo. For those witches and tarot readers that have maybe kids that are Juggalos, or a lot of clients that are Juggalos, you might consider getting this deck. They would probably identify with the symbols better than you could. If you're a Juggalo and you thought about tarot reading but not quite sure, I definitely recommend this deck. It's really easy to learn from this deck. Like I said, it's very close to Rider White, and there's some decks, I tell you, they are very far from it. This one's really close. It has a lot of the same symbols, if you know what they are, in them. If you don't know what, you know, if you haven't worked with tarot before, you might not recognize them. That doesn't matter. Like I said, if you're a Juggalo looking to get into tarot, this would be a really great deck to use. It'd probably help you understand the tarot a little bit better. So that is my review. I again give this deck a big A++. I love it. It is one of my well-used decks. Have a blessed day. Whoop.